She never liked cafes. The clatter of cups, the hiss of espresso machines, and the chatter of strangers always made her daughter retreat further into herself. Yet today, Emily Walker had insisted on bringing her 12-year-old Lily out. Lily was mute, born with a condition that made spoken words nearly impossible, and for years, Emily had feared that the world outside their apartment would overwhelm her daughter. But the cafe had a sunlit corner by the window, and Emily, CEO of a thriving tech company, thought it might be the perfect little adventure. Emily adjusted Lily's chair and smoothed her hair, watching her daughter trace patterns on the table with her fingers. Just a little while, Emily whispered, as if her daughter could hear her words, even though the world knew she couldn't speak them. Across the room, a man sat with a sketchpad, focused but seemingly alone in his own world. His presence was calm but intense. Something in his eyes made the cafe feel quieter than it was. He looked up briefly and noticed Lily, her small hands dancing over the wooden table in silent frustration. Without thinking, he rose and approached. "Hi," he signed, fluidly and gently, smiling. Emily froze. Her daughter looked up in surprise, her eyes wide with curiosity. The man's hands moved effortlessly, forming words in a language Emily had never learned. "My daughter, your daughter can show." He signed with patience, asking if Lily could understand sign language. Emily nodded, unsure, her throat tight with emotion. She doesn't talk," she said aloud, hesitant. "I can see that." He signed again. "She'd like to try." Lily blinked, hesitant, then slowly lifted her hand, mimicking his movements. A spark of recognition lit her eyes, the first real connection she had made in months beyond Emily's coaxing. The man introduced himself as Daniel, a single dad whose own son had once struggled with a similar condition. They began signing, and Lily's small gestures became bolder, more confident. She laughed silently, her hands flying as she told stories of her own, and Emily watched, tears stinging her eyes. She had never seen her daughter so alive in the presence of a stranger, but this newfound joy was not without challenges. Emily worried about strangers, about the world, about letting Lily interact outside of her protective bubble. And Daniel had challenges of his own. He carried the weight of loss, having lost his son's mother and feared opening his heart again. Their connection was fragile, built on silent trust and shared experiences, but it felt genuine. Over the next few weeks, Emily and Lily began visiting the cafe more often, sometimes bumping into Daniel and his son. Slowly, the walls Emily had built around Lily began to crumble, and Lily began to trust the world a little more. Daniel shared his struggles, his victories, and through it all, Emily realized that both of them had been missing a family connection in different ways. One day, the cafe brimmed with the scent of fresh coffee and pastries, and Daniel turned to Emily, signing quickly but nervously. Lily understood instantly, giggling as she mirrored his hands. Emily's heart tightened. The simple act of communication had transformed her daughter's world, but it had transformed hers too. She had feared letting someone in, feared that life outside her carefully controlled bubble would hurt her daughter. But here was proof that love, patience, and understanding could heal the deepest wounds. Months later, they celebrated Lily's 12th birthday at that very cafe. Her hands flew as she told stories to friends, to Daniel, and even to some new acquaintances who had taken the time to learn sign language. Emily watched her daughter, her chest swelling with pride, realizing that life's greatest gifts often arrive quietly, through gestures and smiles rather than words. As the sun dipped behind the buildings, Daniel reached for Emily's hand, signing words she finally understood without thinking. Family doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Emily smiled, tears spilling freely. Lily squeezed both their hands, her silent laughter filling the room. In that moment, the cafe, once a place of fear and uncertainty, became a sanctuary of hope, proving that the language of the heart often speaks louder than words ever could. And in the quiet, amid the clatter of cups and the scent of coffee, Emily finally understood love was never about being perfect. It was about showing up, signing your truth, and letting the ones you care about see it.